So I went for my walk slash run this morning, and on that run portion, I just had kind of a moment of clarity, I think, kind of what's going on with how things are being framed in this country regarding regulations and laws, and how there's such a disconnect between the populace, and the way things are being framed is kind of really leading to that. So you have a new law, for example, let's say universal health care. So it's framed as current system is unfair, too expensive, people go bankrupt, therefore we need the government to step in and fix it. And if your main perspective on life is driven by your compassion side, or focus on the humanity of everybody, yeah, why wouldn't you support that? Sounds great. And if you're somebody who comes from, I don't want to say more of a logical state, but perspective, but just a rationality of perspective of we're living in a flawed world. Some people say fallen world. Essentially, it's not perfect, and human beings have a capacity for evil and bad things, and we have the capacity for great things, but that's all within the individual. It depends on the individual, and therefore systems we build are vulnerable to the same problems as individuals themselves. So from that perspective, you go, well, yeah, that sounds great and everything, but it's not the best way to deliver good quality care that doesn't infringe on people's rights. So that's where everything, I think, has to be taken from the perspective of whenever there's a new law or policy proposal or something in front, that the government wants to do, the default baseline should be not whether this is the compassionate thing or the good thing to do, but as this society, as the framers set up the framework of our Constitution and the principles upon it, the sovereignty, the inherent sovereignty and rights are rest within each and every one of us as individuals, right? And it's our choice to give up some of that sovereignty to the government to do some things that are bigger than the capacity of the individual, of the communities, and then if you're talking about federal government, of the state. And so that's really where it should be focused from the start is, okay, there's a problem, analyze the problem, and then as far as solutions go, what's the proposed solution? And as individuals, is that appropriate? Do we want to give up certain liberty in order for the government to oversee or provide or do some kind of action on the behalf of society? And that's where really the conversation should be. I think it'd be much more productive and less division, because if you take it from that perspective, the individual is sovereign. That's saying everybody, You know, we've moved past a point in our history where some people weren't viewed as equal under the law, no matter what the Constitution says. In practice, that wasn't the case, right? But as a society, as a country, we've moved beyond that, as our founders hoped and wanted it to be, that one day we would be to this point. And so, as a society, we are all sovereign, all of us together. Your rights are the same as my rights. The government's gonna not. They're gonna treat us all the same once we give them the power. Doesn't matter what they say now. They're gonna, you know, just depend. Once they have the power, it depends who's controlling the government at that point. What you felt you might have been getting the advantage in from the government's implementation of a law or whatever, new administration, could now you're the one at the disadvantage. And that's the problem with government running things and human beings, right? It's flawed. Us. That's what freedom is the sovereign right to determine your own life and what you want to do and have the ability to do it. That's inherent to the founding of this country. The collective sins and the collective rights of this country, of people in this country, do not trump the individual rights. The Constitution wasn't framed in a perspective of the collective. If it was, it would say so explicitly. You know, that's the European Revolution. That's the French Revolution. Equality. That wasn't it in America. It's about the individual in America. And I would say that's in line with Judeo-Christian, the three monotheistic religions. The inherent sovereignty from those religious perspective is within the individual, each and every one of us. And so that's where things need to be focused on when discussing public policy. But if we let the media, if we keep plugged into the media and the politicians, they're not trying to they're not representing us. I think we can all agree. It's not about us and what's right for us. It's about what's right for them, their power, their control, and the people who donate to them. You get control of a system, any kind of system, and you use it to benefit you and those close to you, right? So they're going to frame discussions and laws and policies in a manner where it pits people against people, right? Oh, these people are bad, or they're heartless, or they're evil, versus these people. Oh, they're dumb, or, you know, just snowflakes, or whatever it may be. It's all BS. All of it. Both sides get caught up in it. It's all BS. It's we're all equal. How does this affect each of us individually? Because again, the sovereignty lies within the individual, not within certain groups. And the moment that they can start having the narrative and the perspective be from a group dynamic, you engage that primal part of our psyche, the tribalness, right? Us versus them. And then it's enemies, then you fight. It's not how it is. This country, we recognize that there's going to be differences in values and principles, but the collective, what binds us together, is not the food we eat, the music we like, the movies we enjoy, the sports we watch. It's not really that. I mean, that is part of it, but the main thing is our principles and values of our founding. That's what makes America work. That's what makes us American. Simply that. No matter what kind of food we eat, no matter what kind of, books we read, what kind of movies we watch, what kind of music we listen to, what kind of clothes we wear, who we love, right? Who we worship, right? What skin color we have, where we came from. None of that matters. It's not what binds us. History is relevant, but at the same time, the past doesn't dictate the future. It doesn't. Otherwise, you're constantly a prisoner to the past. You can never move forward. I mean, it's like that from an individual level, right? If you hold on to past pains and wrongs, somebody did you wrong, you can't move past it, you're stuck. You're a prisoner to the past. You're just hurting yourself. You'll never overcome, you'll never be able to, sorry for the helicopter, you'll never be able to move forward and progress. It's the same thing at the nation level, the state level, the community level, right? If we just are stuck to the past, we'll never be able to move forward. Never. And that's not to say we shouldn't acknowledge and really, have a moment to acknowledge our history and the wrongs that were done. But that doesn't wipe out the good and and the inherent goodness of this founding and what the vision that our founders had and great leaders since the founders, I mean, for a contemporary standpoint, Martin Luther King, I mean, he really hit on it. We're all equal. We all be judged based on the content of our character. That's it at the end of the day. Who we are as people, not this, right? Does that define me? Does this color define who I am? Nah. And I think that's racist to assume that of anybody. We should be beyond this. We should be beyond this. I wasn't raised that way, right? That's not to say that there aren't people out there that still have that backwards mentality, or that good people make mistakes and mess up from time to time, say things they regret or were ignorant, and then they grow and become wiser, and they're not the same person that made that mistake. I mean, these are all things we gotta acknowledge. I mean, life isn't simple. Humans are not simple. We're complex entities, right? And we're very flawed. And so we need to deal with each other with compassion. And we need to listen to people. And I'm not talking about in the sense of like, let's say I'm Jewish and you can't, because you're not Jewish, you can't speak on anything Jewish. That's ignorant. You can have an opinion on things, but you should also listen to the perspective of the individual who is going through that experience or whatever. That's really what it comes down to, I think, what this nation needs right now. Just tone down this rhetoric, us versus them. Just all the same, and just listen, right? Have a dialogue. Get off of it's entrenched, and it's not going in a good direction. You have some states, I don't know. Anyways, I think you guys kind of get the point. guys and gals, I should say. I really think that's the key. That's the only way we're going to be able, and it's not going to be some, everything's against us to have the conversations, to listen to each other, to forge common understanding and a path forward. It ain't going to be through the media. It ain't going to be through politicians. It's going to be from everyday people in their communities having the space to do this. It's the only way. So with that, wish everybody health and happiness, peace, and just appreciate that we live in the greatest nation in the world that was given to us by our forefathers and mothers with sacrifice of their lives and their hard work and their money. And we are fortunate, all of us are fortunate to be here today. Just thank God. We're alive, we're healthy, and we live in a free country. And let's keep it that way. Love you.